George, the chapel looks like it's been built right into the rock.
You're right. We should take a look inside.
I wonder, how old do you think the chapel is?
I'm guessing the exterior's a couple of 100 years old, but the inside? Who knows? Some parts could be much older.
You think somehow this chapel might be connected to the face in the rock?
At a guess, I would say so. Hey, look! It's Pearl and Dwayne.
Come on, honey bun. Things ain't that bad.
You just don't understand. Today's been a disaster.
But
The monastery was closed. We got stuck in the cable car. And now this place is a building site.
aw, sweetie pie.
This was supposed to be the spiritual highlight of our trip, Dwayne. But the only spirit I see is that rotten turpentine over there.
Aw, heck.
Clearly, the Hendersons weren't having a great vacation. Great to see you again, Mr. Henderson.
Great to see you too, George. Great work back there with the cable car.
Is Pearl okay?
I wish. I'm afraid we're having one of those days where everything goes wrong.
Tell me about it. What have you been up to since we last met in Claramonte?
Well, there was that little sideshow in Rome, but we can't talk about that. You know why, George.
I do? I do.
Why?
Top secret.
Need to know, Nico. Dwayne is, snoozer.
Don't you mean a sleeper?
No way, honey. A snoozer's at least 2 pay grades up from a sleeper. So I hear. Anyway, I don't believe I've had the pleasure, Miss,
Nicole Collar. Call me Nico.
Well, how's about that? So this is the beautiful Nico. No wonder you've been hiding her away from me, Georgie boy.
Gosh, no,
It's lovely to finally meet you too, Mr. Henderson. George has told me so much about you.
Oh, call me Dwayne, my dear. And let me assure you of one thing. Everything you've heard is quite possibly true.
Dwayne was loud, large, and short-sighted, but boy was he a charmer. Is there anything we can do for Pearl?
I sure as hell hope so, George. She's been planning and researching this trip for years, our little pilgrimage. And Santa Cova Chapel here was the cherry on the cake. Not a thing she don't know about this place. Madonna, blah, blah, blah. Chapel built in, yada, yada, yada. She's Santa Cova's very own walking encyclopedia. Well, weeping encyclopedia, I should say.
So what brings you to Santa Cova?
Pearl's idea from the get-go. Ever since the unfortunate car accident back home, she's been scouring those pilgrimage brochures. Gotta be full of wonder and life-changing imagery. Got to have penance potential. Got to offer a real spiritual experience.
Well, I'm sure this place will be very spiritual once it's finished.
If the chapel is not what she expected, how about the monastery?
Hot dog, no. That place is for tourists, not pilgrims.
You said she expected a spiritual experience?
Well, that's what the brochure promised. Pilgrimages, little monk fellas, singing, shafts of light, the whole shebang.
Smells, bells, and heavenly lights.
Yeah, that's what the lady wanted. Oh, excuse me. Pearl needs me. There, dear.
Pearl could be a mine of information about the chapel if we could just cheer her up. My mother always said cleanliness is next to godliness. I lit the candles on the candelabra. I rested the side mirror precariously on the candelabra. I secured the mirror in place with some yarn. Now that was something. The light from the candelabra spilled over the Black Madonna like waves of spiritual goodness in candle form. There was a recess in the wall with a Latin word carved above it. Puritas, purity. I'd seen that word before somewhere. A statue of the Madonna and Child watched over the chapel. I put the shavings in the mug. I covered the shavings with Brett. Potpourri. Kind of. I lit the scented shavings. A sweet aroma started to fill the room. I needed a better idea. The hammer produced a promising sound. A.
What are you up to?
Look, I made a Churchenspiel. That sounded like an A. B, if I wasn't mistaken. G. A. A. Well, that was fun. I poured the turpentine into the paint can. The hammer produced a promising sound. G. An F sharp. G. B. B. A. G. I had it. It was the tune Dwayne was humming.
George, that's Ave Maria. Let me have a go.
Wow, you really nailed that, Nico.
Yep, this mop really is pretty special. Leave this to me.
Pumpkin? Oh my!
What?
The sound of angels, the lights of heaven, the smell of piety, and
Yes?
the Madonna, I do believe. Tears. She's crying, Dwayne. The Madonna's crying. Little Timmy. Wrong side of the road. Not my fault. Broken leg. Compensation claim. Forgive me, poor Timmy.
Oh, Pearl, my precious, you're such a sensitive soul.
Well, now that's done. I feel my soul's floating on air. We can get on with our pilgrimage, Dwayne.
Just another 1,000 clicks to go.
Pearl was back to her usual cheery self. Mrs. Henderson,
George, dear boy.
how you feeling?
Oh, just fine, thank you. I have just seen a miracle, George. It's all gonna be all right from now.
I'm sure it is, Mrs. Henderson. I'm sure it is. What do you make of this?
It looks like an Ouroboros.
Oh, you recognize it? Let me show you something else. Can you tell me anything about this painting?
Oh, nothing, dear. Apart from the obvious Gnostic connotations, of course.
What?
You know, the Dominicans. All those Gnostic saints. Doubting Thomas, Judas. And you see the woman in the red cloak? The infamous Mary Magdalene herself.
A lady in red.
That's enough now, Dwayne. You know my feelings about her.
Pearl knew her Gnostic onions, all right.
Then there's the Ouroboros, of course.
Something special about it?
Well, if I remember rightly, there was an Ouroboros right here in this chapel. Back in the 30s and 40s, the chapel was renovated. The workmen uncovered numerous symbols carved in the rock. Amongst them was a fine Ouroboros.
But that's amazing. So, where is it?
Oh, it's not there now.
Oh,
It was considered blasphemous, so they plastered over it. Sweetheart, I think it's time for us to go. The road to enlightenment waits for no woman.
'Tis the pilgrim's lot, George.
It was so nice to see you again. And meet your girlfriend.
We're not...
Take this radio, Nico. Never know when you might need it. Keep an eye on our boy George here.
Poor little lost lamb.
I'm not...
Don't worry, this little lamb's in safe hands. Bon voyage.
Bye-bye, dears.
See ya.
Nico, don't even start.
Little lamb?
Let's focus on the task in hand, shall we? Okay, this Ouroboros that Pearl mentioned.
You're right. We need to find it.
A modern plaster altar had been built against the rock. I hoped this was the right thing to do. Hey, Nico, I found the Ouroboros.
So what now?
Pearl was right. The plaster had covered an Ouroboros. I pushed the Ouroboros, but nothing happened. What was that noise? I knew it. Another secret passageway.
Amazing, George. How did you do it?
Just another case of the old Stobart magic, I guess, Nico. It looks a little dark in there.
Are you scared, George?
Of course not. Just worried about you tripping, that's all. Whoa, this is one dark cave.
It's the door that worries me, George.
Well, I'm sure the door will open again if we give it a minute. No need to panic. Now we panic. Help! I gotta say, Nico, you're pretty calm about this.
Traveling with you, George, I've got used to this kind of thing. If I panicked every time a door shut behind us, probably forever, well...
You're right. What was I thinking? You see if you can get the door open, and I'll go check out the dark, evil-smelling cave. Fumbling around in the dark wasn't going to be fun. But heck, I'd spent a lifetime doing it, so what was new? It was stone, with a recess in it and, an oily liquid in it. There was some kind of thin twine in the middle of it, too. Hey, Nico, I think I found some light. Whoa!
It must be Genan. Ramon said he disappeared while searching the mountains for the tabula.
So this is where he ended up, dead in a cave. And on closer inspection, I'd even say blown your own brains out dead.
Okay, George, I get the point. What is this place?
Who knows? But look at the Gnostic symbols.
You're right. The colors, the trees. But who is she?
It looks like the Virgin Mary, but I don't think it is.
What do you mean?
The red robes and that whole off-the-shoulder look? It must be Mary Magdalene, of course. Marquez told me that the Gnostics revered her. This place, it's some kind of Gnostic shrine.
There's got to be something to release that door. Maybe amongst these carvings.
But if it was that obvious, don't you think Gainan would have found it? There were ancient scratches on the plinth, as if someone had moved the statue. I'm sure that this is Mary Magdalene.
The red robes. It all makes sense. The Madonna would be wearing blue. So, who's the child?
Well, according to the Gnostic Gospels, when Mary kissed the lips of Jesus, she,
Oh, I see.
Yep,
So the Gnostics think that the suckling child is...
I guess so. Blue paint was peeling from the carved figure. I wondered if it was an image of Lucifer. The carved figure had once been green. I wondered if it was a representation of Jehovah. I was glad I hadn't felt around too much before lighting the lamp. Gainan had certainly been busy before he blew his brains out. I wonder what he'd been up to. Nico,
What?
is this what I think it is? It must be the Tabula Veritatis.
So Genan did find it.
It's so small, so innocent looking. Why would Simeon call it evil? Why so many deaths for this?
And why go to such lengths to keep it hidden?
Unless it is as genuinely dangerous as Simeon claimed.
The question now is, what do we do with it?
It was an old water canteen. The contents had long since been drunk. It was an old flashlight. It looked like it died around the same time as Gainan. The photograph was of an ancient clay tablet. Gainan had written on it. Someone, presumably Gainan, had taken the time to translate the inscription. At a glance, the inscription seemed to relate to the exploits of someone called the Sun King. The symbol on the tablets looked similar to the ones etched into the face of the Tabula Veritatis. Ex luce veritas. Out of light, truth. I'd seen the same words on the fresco at Castel de Sants. It had to be Gainan, in which case the body had been there for decades. There was a bullet hole in the side of his head. Just like us, he'd been trapped. He'd chosen suicide. I picked up the old gun. It was too corroded and rusty to ever be fired again. It was a fedora, just like the one in Gainan's trunk back at the Castel. The years hadn't been kind to it. I prized the map out from under the arm of the corpse. It looked like Gainan had scrawled some kind of last testament onto this map. My friends, I know that you will eventually find me, but by then it will be too late. I have decoded the tabula, and I know our destiny lies in paradise. The key to the power of God is in our hands. I die secure in the knowledge that you will now be able to complete my work. Tell my family that I died doing my duty, that I surrender my life gladly to the cause. In the light of the day, these words will fade, like our souls. But rest assured that when they do, their echoes will guide us to where we will meet once again. I'm not sure, but it looks like crafty old Gainan left a secret message in his testament. When I held the map up to the flame, something started to change. The writing on the map started to react to the heat. Well, I'll be darned.
What is it?
At a guess, the locations on the map might match up with the ones he's marked on this photograph. If this letter matched the one on Ganon's translation, this must be the location of the Sun City. If the letters match the ones on Ganon's translation, this must be the Mountain Kingdom. If this letter matched the one on Ganon's translation, this must be the location of the Three Rivers region. If this letter is the same location as the one marked D on Ganon's translation, this must be Sunset Mountain. If the letter E matches the one on Ganon's translation, this must be the location of the Young Cities. I wondered if Ganon's notes on the photograph might help me decode the tabula. That was the first row of symbols cracked. It was all starting to make sense. So, these are directions. Begin at Sun City, travel 5 days east to a river, travel south 6 days through a desert to the source of 4 rivers. Hey, Nico! I've cracked it!
Fantastic!
The Tabula Veritatis. It's a set of directions. Take a look at this map. The inscription says to start here at Sun City. Ganon hid the location in his map. It then says to travel 5 days east to a river, then turn south and travel 6 days through a desert to the source of 4 rivers.
And what is that?
I'm not sure, but it must be important, right?
Right. Important enough for the Gnostics to try and keep it a secret for thousands of years. And guess what? I think I may have found a way out.
You have?
Look, while you were busy playing Ancient Scholar, I found this.
What did it do?
I'm not sure.
It didn't open the door.
Perhaps we're missing something.
Must be. If Ganon died looking for a way out, there has to be more to it than just a hidden button.
Then let's keep looking.